behind me is the Alpine A110S. It's a car I've been looking forward to drive for a very long time, particularly because I used to own an Alfa Romeo 4C, and I want to see how different or how good the Alpine A110S is compared to the 4C. In this video, I'm going to give you all the information you need to know about this car, the Alpine A110S. We're going to take it for a drive and compare it to the Alfa Romeo 4C. Before we continue the video, I'd be forever grateful if you could support the channel by subscribing and turning on notifications. Also press the like button as it helps push the video out to more people and makes me happy. So first things first, let's touch on the performance of this car, a bit of exterior styling. We'll jump to the interior and then we'll take it for a drive. So first things first, the Alpine A110S, it's a lightweight car, very similar to that of the Alfa Romeo 4C. It runs a 1.8 litre 4-cylinder 16-valve turbo engine. It's mid-engine and rear-wheel drive, so again almost identical kind of platform mid-engine to the 4C and the Porsche 718 Cayman S. Now when Alpine made this car, they had kind of lightweight in mind, and the curb weight of this car comes in at 1,114 kilos. Now in terms of the transmission that powers this car, we get a 7-speed DCT box. This car produces 292 bhp and 320 newton meters of torque. All of that coupled together gives this car a 0 to 62 time of just 4.4 seconds and a top speed of 161 miles per hour. But the thing that's really cool and very similar to that of the Alfa Romeo 4C, because it's so lightweight, you can still get 43 miles to the gallon out of it. Now the A110S doesn't come cheap. In terms of a starting price, the car starts at 56,000. This one here has some options spec'd in, so we're looking at 63k for this specific car. Now then, let's touch on the colour, because this is an iridescent white and I think it looks absolutely insane. The chassis itself is 96% aluminium, which that's where you get that kind of lightweight feel from. Now this being the A110S model, it's also 4mm lower than the older A110 car, which I think was around about 250 bhp. This has an increase of 40 bhp to give it a little bit more punch. Now if we pop down towards the wheels, we get 18-inch GT Sport wheels which house the Michelin PS4 tyres. We also get 4-pot Brembo, well they're not Brembo, they're called Alpine but they look very Brembo to me. You get 4-pot calipers and also 320mm discs. Now this specific car also comes with a 2,200 pound carbon roof. You can see the kind of double bubble roof and it is quite expensive. It's probably the most expensive option you can get on this car. We also get a very nice active sport exhaust, and we also get a rear diffuser that actually does something, and if you kind of look under there, it's kind of, you can see it's a flat bottom all the way through, so this diffuser actually does something. It's not just there for show. Other creature comforts include things such as front and rear parking sensors. You also get electric heated front mirrors, which is always nice to have, particularly in the winter. You also have 2 boots in this. You get 1 boot at the front, which is 100 litres, and 96 litres at the rear. Now then, come in and take a look at the interior. We're first greeted by these absolutely gorgeous lightweight Seatbelt seats. They have a hell of a lot of bolstering here on the side here, and they're coupled with a very nice Alcantara and leather mix. They do look absolutely stunning with a kind of orange stitching which works very, very well. We also get a kind of lightweight audio system, because weight is the key thing that Alpine have gone for with this car. It feels a bit like a bit of a supercar. It's got a very McLaren-esque center tunnel, as you can see there, with ample space down here for additional storage. You also get things such as 2 USB ports as well there, so it is actually relatively practical. Looking at the center of the car, you have a 7-inch touchscreen screen in the middle, which is pretty nice. If I compare it to the Alfa Romeo 4C, this is like an iPad, because the 4C had a basic Halford stereo. And in this thing you get things such as the technical gauges, you get sat nav, you get all sorts of cool goodies here. Kind of again, looking down here, you've got the reverse, neutral and drive buttons, with a very nice start stop button here with a bit of a nice carbon fibery center tunnel piece. You've also got some storage space down here, which really is for the key more than anything. In terms of the steering wheel, we get a very nice kind of Alcantara and leather wheel. As you can see here, we've got Alcantara here on the top, leather on the sides. We've got a cool little sport button with the active exhaust. As I said, it actually does make a difference, and when you press that, you get a different kind of dash. As you can see, the valve closes and the valve opens as well. I'm not sure if you can hear it from inside the car, but have a listen. We get some nice pops and crackles out the back of that exhaust. I do like that. We get these kind of paddle shifts here, which are actually attached to the steering column itself. I would have preferred to see these a little bit longer. There's been a couple of times where I've tried to switch gears and I've missed it because it's not very, very long, whereas on the 4C they're attached to the steering wheel. Also down here you've got your volume controls, so whether you want to adjust your radio with volumes up, volume down, etc., you can do that all through here. The dash itself is very nice. It feels very premium. It's got leather, again contrasting with the nice orange stitching, and the buttons here are kind of very fighter jet style buttons, which do look very, very cool. Now, being a mid-engine car, you can see there that a lot of the space gets taken up behind you. It is a two-seater by the engine itself, but you do get this this kind of little storagey thing down here to put things in. It's quite deep, but as I mentioned earlier on, you do get a front and rear boot. All right, let's see what this little bad boy is. It's now just started to rain as well, which isn't ideal, although I have driven my Alfa Romeo 4C in the wet, and I can tell you what, it was a flipping handful. So like I said, 292 bhp in this lightweight little thing, and I'm excited to see what it's like. Let's give it a little acceleration first in the wet, see if it grips. Wow, well, it definitely grips. Immediately what I notice is the way this thing delivers its power is a lot more smooth than the Alfa Romeo 4C. The Alfa Romeo 4C had a huge dump of torque at around 2000 RPM. The Alpine A110S feels a little bit more progressive, a little bit more linear, which isn't a bad thing, to be honest. It does sound really good though. In terms of kind of the cabin and how it feels from a first impression perspective, it feels a lot more spacious than from the outside. You look at this car from the outside and it looks quite compact, but being here seated in it, it actually feels a lot more spacious, and actually it feels a lot more premium. You've got like little amenities such as you've got the cruise control, you've got a decent screen here, you know, we've got power steering, which is always a good thing. And actually, this is a car you could probably drive every day, genuinely. Yeah, you can see that the dual clutch locks those gears in quickly. It does sound good. Yeah, it definitely pulls. It pulls well, it pulls hard, it pulls all the way up the RPM as well. This feels like a very cool car, and as a driver as well, like, you're seated so low, you've got ample visibility here. There aren't any blind spots in this, which is a great thing considering the fact you've got some big pillars there. Alpine have definitely gone out their way to make it a car that you can use every day, and that's a good thing, because in the Alfa Romeo 4C, you look that way, you can't see anything. Literally, it's a very bad blind spot on the 4C. Also, in terms of just driving the 4C, it's an event all the time, and to just drive it normally like I'm doing right now is a bit more of a challenge, whereas this feels very pleasurable. This is a very nice car. You know, it was a car that I've been really wanting to drive for a very long time, and I'm so glad I've got my hands on it to experience it kind of in the real world, if you like. Handling wise in the wet, look, I mean, the front end on this car is pretty spot on. You literally just point it, shoot it, and off it goes. It is a very compliant car. It definitely provides a hell of a lot of grip. That's what you want. That's what you definitely want. The brake pedal feels very similar to that of the 4C as well. It's kind of it doesn't feel like there's much assistance there. You've got to really push down on the brake to really actually stop the car. Oh, it pulls well, doesn't it? And it sounds good. Now, at a price tag of £63,000, it is a lot of money, but you do get all the creature comforts that you'd expect from a car that you can daily. Like I said, you've got the sat-nav, you've got the 7-inch screen, you've got the cruise control, which is great. We've got seats that are bucket seats, but they're actually very comfortable. And when you're throwing this around corners as well, these seats actually do hug you. They hug you very, very well. Whereas in the 4C, you didn't have that much support from the seats. They were okay, they weren't the greatest seats. This, on the other hand, is a different kettle of fish. Alpine have really, really gone to town with this car to try to give it that track feel, but also that usability. And I think they've done a cracking job, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, that front end is bloody good, man. sound, interior sound as well. Bear in mind this is a pretty 96% aluminium car. There's not much insulation here, as you can hear, but actually the road noise and the exterior noises are not coming through in this car, which I'm quite surprised at. Whereas in something like the 4C, because it had a carbon tub, you heard everything, absolutely everything, whereas this, very different story. Although it's a very similar platform to the 4C, this isn't as wide, so you get a little bit more usability in things like car parks, etc. Getting into this car is much easier than the 4C. It's also slightly stiffer to that of the older A110. As I mentioned earlier on, this is 4mm lower than the older car. But even here on these kind of British B roads, if you like, where my 4C would be throwing me left, right and centre because the geometry was all wrong, although Alpha Works did do a good job in making it much better, you don't feel that in this. It absorbs the bumps a hell of a lot better than the 4C did. And the way the suspension kind of sends its feedback up through the wheel, it's so much more manageable. So kind of in summary, what are my kind of first impressions of the Alpine A110S? I think they've done a cracking job with it. I really like this car. I think it's a little bit on the pricey side, but all new cars are. I like the way it delivers its power. It's very progressive, so it's not too snappy on you. You don't have that immediate dump of torque, which throws you back into your seat, which makes the car a lot more manageable around the corners, so you can really come onto the accelerator and the throttle earlier than in something like the Alfa Romeo 4C. In terms of the exterior styling, what do I prefer? I would always prefer the look of the Alfa Romeo 4C. For me, it's a timeless design, it's iconic, it's so supercar, whereas this can quite easily be a bit more discreet and hide in amongst the crowd. The 4C cannot. But from a usability perspective, you get things such as the xenon headlights on this, front and rear parking sensors, interior cabin feels a lot more premium than that of the 4C. I would quite happily use this every day, this car. I would never use the 4C daily. And anyone who does use a 4C daily, you guys are just hardcore. I couldn't do it. What do I prefer? It's a difficult one. I think because of my passion to Italian cars, I prefer the 4C in terms of its rawness, its ability to really kind of scare you and want to kill you when you're driving it, whereas this definitely doesn't do that. I'm a massive fan of the A110S. Well done Alpine for creating such a cool, lightweight car, but also providing that daily usability. But anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. My name's been Steph. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done already. Let's get past these cycling. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done already. My name's been Steph. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon on the next video. See you later guys. Bye bye.